All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the September RAN and happy National Research Administrators Day. Woohoo! It's really lovely to see all of you in person. My name is Christy Bohensky. I'm from the Office of Research and Sponsored Projects. I'm the lead officer of award management, but some of you probably still call me your project rep. I'm honored to be your host today. Before we get started, look at these lovely people. This is the RAC Communications Subcommittee. These folks help put on all of the RAN events, among other things as well, and I'd like to give a big thank you to them for helping put on today's event. And a very special shout out to Becky Yeomans DeMoss and Serena Nuttall and Emma Smith, who was working the booth out there. They've put a lot of extra effort in today to help make this a very special day for everybody. Some meeting notes. This event is being recorded, and it will be posted to the RAN webpage after today's meeting. Zoom attendees, please mute your audio. Thank you. And you can submit questions via the Q&A function. I think there's going to be certain times where there will be questions. And live captioning is turned on, so if you don't want this feature, you can disable it in your settings. Zoom people. This is a hybrid event, so warm welcome to all those Zoom attendees. I know that you're probably typing an email right now or working on a budget or possibly reviewing a PAF, so please pause for a moment and take this time to listen to our presenters today, and we've got a lot of fun things. We've got some activities actually for the virtual attendees as well as the in-person attendees. We've got notes of appreciation shared, and there's also a lot of very important updates about changes that are coming that you do want to hear. So you want to be aware of those. So please stick around, and after our presenters today, you're going to hear more about some prizes as well, because we've got fun stuff, because after all, this is a celebration for all of you. Today's theme is Connect, Engage, and Inspire. After the year we have been experiencing, there's no better time to connect and take a moment to celebrate the work that all of us do as research administrators. So the goal today as a hybrid event is to connect no matter if you're in the room today or miles away joining us via Zoom. All right, so with that, let's get this party started. Our first presenter is Chandra White. I'm going to introduce you. Okay. Chandra is the Associate Vice President for Research Sponsored Projects. She has over 15 years of leadership experience in sponsored research grants and contracts administration. She most recently served as the Assistant Vice President for Sponsored Research at Northwestern University and was also the Director of Sponsored Projects and Research Enhancement at George Washington University. In both roles, Chandra had direct responsibility for leading research administration efforts. So let's give a warm welcome to Chandra White.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, everyone. Welcome again, and I just want to say as well, happy Research Administrators Day for all of you. This is, an important day. We don't want to overlook it, and I'm glad that we're having this in-person event and hybrid event for all of you. I keep pointing towards a screen. I think the Zoom is that way, so I'll keep pointing that way for the folks on Zoom. But this is a field, as you all know, that it feels like a lot of, there may be some of us who've had 20, 30 years almost in this field, but it's still a relatively, can you hear me not still? Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, I'm not a loud talker, so I'll stick the thing here. Okay, so, and this is still a relatively new field, so having a specific day dedicated to the field is, really a momentous achievement for the field and for all of us. We are often, this field is one where we're often finding creative solutions to problems, challenges, but I think it's also a very rewarding field. It's a field where a lot of us have found our way in. We want it to become a more intentional pathway into the field, and so I will talk about some of those things as I give my presentation this morning. But one of the things I did want to just talk about quickly is the importance of what you all do, what we all do. We are not unsung heroes, we're just heroes every day. We've been through a lot. We've had, if we think about not just this year, but if we think about the COVID years and years before that, we think about the years when there were we go through budget cycles, continuing resolutions, things like that, and we always have to adapt ourselves, readapt ourselves, reorient. And so we're people who are great with change, great with, again, being creative, great with being very, I call us MacGyvers. For those of you who don't know who MacGyver is, you know, somebody gets to do a post and figure out who MacGyver is, but we're MacGyverers. We make things work. We make things work where there doesn't seem to be a way all the time. So I have a couple things I want to announce to you this morning and share that I'm very excited about. As Christy mentioned, I have over 15 years of experience in research administration leadership. However, I've been in the field, it'll be 20 years next month. And I was one of those people who it seemed like I ended up here, but the more I look at my path, it just looked like it was completely designed and directed to be right here. And I love this field, I really do. I have a huge heart for the field, a passion for it, and I hope that you begin to experience that more as I'm here as a leader for you in this in research administration. I've been here for 2 years, and so I've gotten an opportunity to really see and observe and feel the passion that you all have, the dedication, the hard work, and I just think that what Michigan has in terms of research administration, just as our research itself, I believe our research administration infrastructure ecosystem honestly is unrivaled, and so I really want us to be able to celebrate that. So you should also celebrate yourselves in that vein. Okay, jumping in. So first thing, in that vein of having great passion for the field, loving this field, really, a lot of us have found the field accidentally, as I've said. We want the field to be more intentional. We want people to find this field and the field to find people kind of at the right time and right away and have this be more intentional. So one of the things that I thought for years, it's been a heart call, just about there should be a degree program for research administration that actually brings people in. We know that there are master's programs in research administration, but the master's programs don't really have a feeder. It's normally people who are already in the field. So we have created the first ever research administration undergraduate degree program. It will launch here at the University of Michigan in January. It is a 2-year degree program. It is designed to start with students who may be in associate's programs or who have a lot of college credits and things like that, and are looking for a new pathway. It may be for teachers or someone who wants to change careers, things like that. So this degree program will launch in January at University of Michigan Dearborn. It's an interdisciplinary program, nearly, I forget how many schools, but there are about 5 schools at Dearborn that were actually a part of this. It's really interdisciplinary, just like our jobs in the field are, so that the participants in the program are able to get a really well-rounded educational experience. And it's focused on skills in communication, project management, ethical compliance, things like that. There will be paid internships. So we'll be asking yourselves, your departments, and others to host our interns as we bring them in. The reason it's also a 2-year degree program, because as we know, over the past couple years, we've had a real challenge with pipelining. It's been a hard way to get people in, getting enough people in. So this allows us to, one, have the internships already in our offices, and it allows people to really see a quick way to an actual career, because they'll be interning while they're in this 2-year degree program that's really focused on the field. So there's more information you can find on the website, and there's a QR code here as well. One of the other things I would really say, I don't know if there's anyone here from Dearborn today. No? I want to really thank the folks at Dearborn for wanting to be pioneers and support this program. There'll be lots of opportunities also for folks to participate. We will run guest lecture series and things like that and as we finish out the curriculum. So really looking forward to that, and I hope you'll be excited about it as well. And then secondly, as we celebrate ourselves today, right now, we want to celebrate ourselves continually. As I said, we've been through a lot as a field, as a university, over the past couple years, not just this year with all the things that we've had to do, but again, the COVID years and things like that have really been challenging and really been demanding upon the folks in this field. So we want to approach kind of going and trying to turn the page on that time. And we're going to host our first ever research administration conference here at University of Michigan. We have we have about 1,100 people, including from the department administrators to central research administrators to others who actually support and work in the research administration ecosystem here on our campus. And that's a lot of people, and we believe it's big enough for us to hold our own conference. And so this is our first. It's Research Administration by Michigan, 2026, first year. And the theme is Renewed, United, and Ready. We're ready for whatever comes next, and we can do it. We have been doing it, and we will continue to do so. The conference will be held April 21st at the Union. It's free and open to all University of Michigan employees. We'll be posting, I think the presenter form is already live, and we'll be posting a form pretty soon for volunteers as we start standing up committees and things like that to begin actually fashioning and preparing for the April conference. So very excited about these two things. I hope you'll be excited as well and realize all of the great things that we're able to do here at University of Michigan in research administration. As the university's vision is, look to Michigan. We believe people should look to Michigan for research administration as well. We should be the standard bearers for the field. Thank you. Can I take any questions?
Good job. Thank you, Chandra. Very exciting stuff coming our way here. Okay, so I wanted to take a moment on behalf of all my hardworking ORSP colleagues to share a thank you message to you all, a note of appreciation for your collaboration and understanding during this challenging year. I know that as we navigate all these changes, we all appreciate all the hard work you do, so thank you. Also, I guess a silver lining to the recent changes is I'm often reminded daily of the amazing people who work here at U of M, because the changes are sort of an all hands on deck type of situation. It takes all of us. And speaking of amazing people, I'd like to give a special thank you to the sponsored programs folks, and especially Brian Van Sickle, who is doing an expert job of handling and managing the financial post-award processes here at U of M. So thank you to all of them. Because what a year this has been. Yes, please give it up. So sponsored programs in ORSP, we're both central offices, but we have different roles, and we collaborate to help manage awards and sponsored funds. And since we're in the age of AI, and we're being asked to always use AI to see how we can help do some of the tasks in our job, I thought it'd be fun to task AI with showing a very accurate representation of ORSP and SP working together. So I had Gemini make this. ORSP is here on the left holding a contract. SP is in front of some bar graphs and some charts. They are shaking hands and very professional. Looks very good. I saw this and I was like, yeah, okay, that looks pretty good, I guess. But I also wanted it to be less boring, because I feel like we do complex things that also are deadline driven. So there's energy to it, right? So come on, Gemini, use your AI skills, make this less boring. So here we go. There is paper flying. We are super excited. We are working hard together. So it's less boring, but I thought, AI, take it one step further. You can do this. So I had it run one more, And I think this one is the accurate depiction of ORSP and SP together. There we go. There is glitter and paper flying through the air. We're smiling so hard, our faces look like they hurt. There's also, I think, a word, not really a word, dealed behind us. And now Sponsored Programs has a tiny dragon helping them. I'm pretty sure that dragon is to help get sponsors pay invoices. That's what it's there for. All right, so just some silliness there for all of you. So speaking of amazing folks here, time for our next presenter. Another one of those Sponsored Programs people, Debbie Talley, who is the Assistant Vice President for Finance at Sponsored Programs. Debbie, thank you for leading Sponsored Programs through the myriad of changes coming through from the federal government. Let's give it up for Debbie, who's going to share some updates here.
Thanks, Christy. All right, lots of technology here. Oh my goodness. All right, so hello everyone, and welcome to our RAND meeting for September. First up, I know you've seen these slides. I feel like I come in September and I must tell you all of this several times between now and December 31st. So we have a lot of reports to get done. There are over 1,900 due by December 31st, and as usual, we really need your help. So please, as you get those reports from our reporting staff, please review them and get those returned to us as soon as possible. At this point, we have just over 1,400 to go, so we're making great progress. But it's also a time of year when there's lots of holidays, and we have the season days at the end of the year, so we need to make sure that we get those all submitted timely to our sponsors. And as you all know, things are changing with the federal government especially, and we don't want to take any chances of having a late report and them not being able to accept it. So if you have questions about reports, I know that Chris Becken is here, and I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. But also, please work with your reporting accountant to get those submitted. And I know she did a webinar about what is peak season, and just this is like a little chart that just shares with you in January through April, we do about 1,200 reports. May through August, about 1,300. When we get to this time of the year, it's our biggest part. It's like tax season for us here in Sponsored Programs, so the busiest time of the year for us. And we don't change our number of employees who do this. So the number of staff in Sponsored Programs in the reporting area stays constant, because in those less than peak times, they're working on closeouts and other things, but the focus during our busy time is to get reports to our sponsors. So we appreciate all the help that you can give us in getting those done. And this was a slide that she shared as well, just to remind you that red circle is kind of where you're involved, but the goal is to get to that star. So there's a lot that goes on before we get there. So the next thing I wanted to share is some updates for contract administration, and I know that Andrea is planning to give much more of an update about this first item, but it's just a reminder for all of you that there will be research security training required for subcontracts under, right now, NIH, NSF, and Department of Defense awards. And what that means really is that we're going to review the subrecipient forms, so that subrecipient statement of collaborative intent, that's a mouthful, when we receive a request for a subaward, to ensure the certification section regarding research security training has been completed. So more to come on that. There is also going to be, along with that, an annual report, or an annual recertification that needs to be done at the time of the RPPR. And we'll be exploring some ITS solutions on that part of it. So hopefully, as we navigate all of that, if you have questions, definitely reach out to our contract administration team. The other thing I wanted to remind you is we all know that NIH is changing their requirements related to foreign subs. Currently, if you have an NIH award with a foreign sub that has recently been awarded, you'll notice that the foreign sub has a different project grant number than the parent project. So please just be sure when you're asking to have that sub written that you're using the correct project grant. And that's probably a little confusing because normally, or in the past I should say, those sat underneath the parent project, but they don't anymore. And I have a couple other updates I wanted to share, or reminders really, that I don't have a slide for, but I know Chris is gonna put one in when he sends this deck out. Property Control is offering some office hours. Property Control are the folks that facilitate ensuring that our equipment is all tagged and that we know where it's at all times. And when we have an audit, they can locate that piece of equipment. And so this is just a reminder to take the time to go to one of those office hours. I think they're all virtual, so if you can get the time to do that, or the folks in your teams who actually manage the equipment, that would be really great for all of you. And that's just as, that's one of the challenges for any of you who've had Brian reach out to you about equipment. It's always our goal that we can identify all the equipment and where it sits at the university. And those start in October. There's 3 sessions in October, 1 in November. I don't have a slide this time for the uniform guidance audit because the focus this year is on student financial aid. So for the most part, you shouldn't be getting any questions from us about an expense on a sponsored project regarding that audit. Excuse me. And the last thing I wanted to say, as just a reminder, we all know, and Chandra mentioned this, that there's been challenges this year, obviously, with terminated agreements from the federal government. That's a challenge for the university, it's a challenge for the researcher, and a challenge for all of us. So when an agreement is terminated, like they have been, we have to get a report submitted. We need to make sure the subcontractor stops their work. And I just want to say thank you for being so flexible with all of us in ensuring that we get those costs all reported and we get reimbursed by the federal government. And the last thing I just want to say, it is always a great honor to be a part of this community. Chandra mentioned all the years that she's been in research administration. I just celebrated my 30th year at the university, and all of my time has been here. Thank you. All of my time has been in finance. Not all of it has been in sponsored programs, but the majority of it has. And I just have to say, I truly enjoy working in this field, and I'm excited about the fact that you can actually earn a degree starting in January. When I came to the university as an accountant, honestly, I didn't know what research administration was, so I think it's really great that you can actually go to school and get a degree in it. So thank you, everyone, for all that you do. I'm going to... Chris?
All right, so in the spirit of being research administrators, we're going to call an audible here because, you know, things happen and people get pulled into meetings and maybe they can't get here as soon as they can. So I'm going to flip into the RAC update right now and share some information with all of you related to RAC. So the first thing I wanted to share in terms of piggybacking on what Debbie said is a video that comes from Michigan Medicine. So you all might recall that we had something like this last year, and this is an updated version of that. So I'm going to go ahead and play it, and I'm going to cross my fingers that it's working.
Hello, research administrators.
We are back to say congratulations on navigating a surprising year.
Your flexibility, grace, and creativity
in handling everything across the spectrum
has not gone unnoticed.
Whether you are organizing research teams to apply for their next big grant,
getting extra proposals into sponsors,
chasing down a program officer for answers,
crafting detailed spending projections for the months ahead,
or supporting an investigator that just got unexpected news.
We appreciate the support you've shown to the faculty and your colleagues.
Although the road might get a bit harder the next couple of months,
we are certain this community will band together.
Thank you for what you do.
And being who you are.
Happy Research Administrators Day.
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 So let's give a thanks to Michigan Medicine for putting that video together. As you all know, we do a lot in this role, and so it's great that folks took time out of their day to record this for us. So I do have a few updates that I've been asked to share. Some of these I can't comment on in terms of specifics because I'm not the expert here, but I'm happy to point you in the direction of the expert if you have questions. So the first is that you may or may not be aware that NIH's public access policy was modified as of July 1st. As I understand it, the modification is that no longer do you need to put publications in PubMed Central within a year after publication, but immediately upon publication. So that's a pretty significant shift. And also the expectation is that PIs read the author agreements to make sure it falls on them. The Tubman Health Sciences Library has a lot of resources that they've put together for this. The link is here. As Debbie mentioned, we will be sharing the slides after the event, both for folks joining in person and online. And the Office of Regulatory Affairs in the medical school will be sending outreach emails to faculty and administrators who are involved with grants where publications may have come out in the last year to alert them of those policy changes. There is a specific email address you can utilize if you'd like, and again, that email address will be on the slides that we share. In terms of some professional development updates for all of you, you may or may not be aware that there are a few Navigate opportunities that are still available. The first is the Budgeting Basics for Sponsored Projects class. Those applications are due tomorrow, September 26th. So if you're interested, you can go out to the Navigate website. I can't commit to having these slides back out to you by tomorrow. If you need the link for it, let me know. Otherwise, I think I did see Raquel here, and I'm sure she'd be happy to take your information. She's in the back there, and get you registered for that if you're interested. Additionally, the Advanced Budgeting, Task-Based, and Hourly Budgets course is accepting applications, and those are going to be due on October 8th. And finally, the next day after that, we will be hosting another webinar focused on generative AI for research administrators. So as some of you might know, we hosted a webinar focused, or a virtual networking session focused on AI back in June. It was very highly attended. We had a lot of great information and presentations. What we didn't get a lot of time for was folks to actually share how they're utilizing AI in their work as research administrators. So in addition to this webinar, the RAC Communications Subcommittee is planning another virtual networking session that will be focused on ways that folks are utilizing AI in their work as research administrators. Some updates from our professional societies. So proposals for the 2026 Region 4 Spring Meeting of Incura are due by September 30th. And additionally, registration is still open for the SRAI annual meeting that will be held later in October in San Antonio. I wanted to take some time to give a shout out to the folks who participated in the Research Administration Mentoring Program. We are now almost into our 10th cohort of the program. So that's a very exciting thing, especially for someone like myself who participated in the pilot cohort. And we will begin that work in earnest with those mentors and mentees starting in October. This is a list of all of the mentors and mentees who participated in the 9th cohort. So thanks very much to all of them. If you recognize some of these names and you want to chat with them about your experience or ask them about their experience, I would encourage you to do so. I'm always delighted to see that we have a consistent interest and participation in the program. We were very fortunate to, I think this was, if not the largest, the second largest cohort that we've had in our 10 years of conducting the mentoring program. I also wanted to share that this was our second year for the group mentoring for emerging RAs cohort, which is an offshoot of RAMP, but is also very much tied into it. We started this as a result of recognizing that there are a lot of newer RAs for whom they both need mentorship and perhaps a little bit of training in some of the skills that are required, or skills that would be helpful as a research administrator. And so what we do is we have group sessions where we have a topic and then some open time for networking with those folks. This is really to help the mentees understand on a specific topic, say some pre-award tasks or post-award tasks, skills that they can learn, some ways that they can get additional training, and even connecting with other folks who are doing that work in research administration. So we can always use additional mentors and subject matter experts for this. So one of the things we will be doing is soliciting for subject matter experts who maybe want to come in just for one session and share their experience, share their knowledge with the mentoring cohort. So look out for more of that. In the spirit of National Research Administrator Day, I did want to give a special thanks to all of the folks who serve on the RAC committees. As someone who does not have direct reports but manages roughly 100 volunteers, I'm always energized, and I get a lot of gratification from the fact that you all take time out of your busy day and all of the changing things that happen throughout your year and your day to really help make things better for research administrators across the university. So I'm going to kind of go through these not too quickly, and I'm not going to read all the names, but you can see them there. The RAC Executive Committee, this year the RAC Executive Committee, for those who don't know, has done a lot of work in terms of focusing more on strategy. And so that work is still in progress, but my hope is that by doing so, they're able to have a lot more synergy with the RAC subcommittees and more ways that you all can get involved with RAC. And so I'm really energized by that process. It's something that we've been working on for a while. It's something that, in my view, has been needed. And so I thank the RAC Executive Committee for all their work in that respect. The RAC Committee at large, these are the liaisons that we rely on in RAC to give you all of the information that you need in your unit. And so this is a large group of folks. They get a lot of emails from me. I'm sure sometimes they probably get a little too inundated or maybe annoyed with it, but I assure you it's all pertinent and important information that we feel is really vital for RAs to know. So thanks to the RAC Committee at Large members for serving in that role. We've already acknowledged the RAC Communications Subcommittee, but I especially want to again thank Becky Yeomans DeMoss for all of her work. The things that you see around here, I can tell Becky really loves doing this stuff, and so I'm not an event planner nor am I an interior decorator, so this would not look anywhere near as nice as it does without Becky's help. And I also wanted to thank Kara Christian, Sam Gibbons, Serena, Emma, and Melissa for serving on our planning committee. This is sort of a subgroup of the RAC Communications Subcommittee that helps to plan this meeting specifically, and especially Christy Bohensky, who, although she's no longer part of the Communications Subcommittee, graciously offered after there was a resounding desire to have her as our host again this year, so she agreed to do that, so thank you to Christy. Thanks to the RAC let's give them a round of applause. Thanks to the RAC Metrics Subcommittee, under Melissa's leadership, this group has really examined ways that we can use data and reporting to be responsive to some of the things that are coming out of the federal government, some of the changes that we're all experiencing. These are all things that, although we have not released them yet, we're working through and really hope to be able to share more information with you about some ways that you can use data and metrics to help with planning some of these unexpected changes. The RAC Process Subcommittee, under Ann's leadership, this group has really also been focused on some key things. One of those being, and you'll hear more about this from Carolyn when she shares her slides, is the ERPM replacement project. So this group not only has been looking at ways that we can improve the current ERPM system that we have and other ways that we can give information to researchers, research administrators, but also looking forward towards the replacement project. Another piece that this group is currently working on, which I'm excited about, I know Chris Becken is excited about, is really helping to map out the financial reporting and closeout processes so that all of you have a better sense of what's involved with that, and we hope to have more information for you on that in the coming months. RAC training, again, under Melissa's leadership, and we just brought on Amy Brooks as our co-chair. This group has really been focused, especially on developing training opportunities for all of you as it relates to AI. There's also another group that's looking at budget resources that we can share with research administrators, in addition to helping the Navigate team develop content, putting out webinars, and just helping support Raquel and her team in that way. So thanks again to the RAC Training Subcommittee. These are not closing remarks. As I mentioned, we're research administrators, so we call an audible, and that's what we're going to do right now. I am going to, pardon me. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea Anderson for the ORSP update. Just let me get back into the correct slides here, so let's welcome Andrea.
All right, hi everybody. So we've got a lot in our slide deck today for you all. A little bit about what we're going to cover in the ORSP update today. We're going to talk about the new research security training requirements that are coming October 1st. The DOJ training requirement as well, some updates from NIH and other sponsors. And then we're going to do a touch base on what's been going on with the ORSP realignment and talk about some of the system updates that Carolyn will cover from a technical perspective in her update next. So, sponsor updates. As many of you may have seen in our recent announcements, the research security training is going to be required for all proposal submissions, awards, and modifications starting on October 1st. This means that the peers requirement that applies to all of our other peers training in ERPM will now be applying to this training as well. But it's a little different because it's required at proposal stage, which is a shift from other training requirements we've had in the past. So this actually has been implemented already in the system, and we're doing a workaround until October 1st to make sure that it doesn't hold up proposals. But that allows you to see in the system if someone is still in need of completing that training before we get to October 1st and you have a proposal due. So we wanted to launch it so you could see that information live in the system before we get to that date. The reason that we're doing this is actually a federal requirement. It was required that the federal agencies figure out an implementation plan to have all of their grant recipients complete this training at proposal under NSPM 33, under the CHIPS and Sciences Act, and the OSTP memo on guidelines for research security programs at covered institutions. So This is not something that we are doing just because we like to put out training and make people take it. It is a requirement of the federal government, and it's also good information just to know if you are performing research in the environment we are in today, where there are concerns about the security of our intellectual property in the research landscape globally. That will be in effect on October 1st. A side note, this also meets the requirement that you may have seen in the NIH notice. I believe it was in July that notice was released, requiring other support training and requiring that to be done as of October 1st. This training will meet that requirement. So rather than having multiple trainings that we're implementing, we're choosing to implement this one on October 1st to meet both requirements. You may have seen a notice on September 11th come out from NIH about more research security policies. So this talks about the research security training, but it also speaks to new certification requirements that are going to be going into effect in January. There is both an institutional and an individual certification requirement, requiring investigators to attest that they have completed that training we just discussed annually. So that will be both at proposal stage, and there's instructions in that NOT about how to submit that certification. And it will also be on our PPRs going forward for any due after January 25th. So that's only a few months away. So check out that NOT for the specific instructions on how to complete those certifications. In that same NOT, they also are implementing a new certification requirement for individuals and for institutions to certify that none of the individuals identified as key personnel on an application or on an award are participating in a malign foreign talent recruitment program. So that NOT is doing a lot of work. I do suggest you read it a few times. Sorry, next slide. Okay. Another training that we are requiring, this requirement is already in place. This is related to the Department of Justice bulk data regulations that came out, March, I believe. It's been a little while. And that those bulk data regulations were actually implemented under the prior administration, but they didn't go into effect until this year. And this training is a quick 15-minute training, but it is required for all awards and modifications to be processed. So we know folks have been diligently completing this in order to get their awards activated. We appreciate that, but we just wanted to give a reminder that that is in place for folks who haven't run into that yet. NIH also had an NOT released, I think, September 12th, related to foreign collaboration. So you may have seen a few months ago, NIH released information saying that they were no longer going to allow foreign subawards off of NIH projects. Some of you may have had the experience over the last few months where NIH came in and said either find a domestic partner or we're going to terminate your award. NIH has now released guidance on how they are going to restructure their grant-making process in order to allow you to work with a foreign partner, but there will no longer be subs to foreign partners. So in this new structure, they will be issuing an award directly to the foreign partner. They have a new multi-component or complex application package for cases where you are working with a foreign partner that would have normally been a subawardee. And they have not released a ton of detail about this yet, so the NOT alludes to more information and training coming from NIH, so we'll be watching for that and we'll keep you informed as that comes out. NIH also recently released a NOT on supporting fairness and originality in research applications. This NOT talks about limiting the number of applications an individual can submit as PI or MPI in a given year. So if you didn't see that one, it came out a few months ago, but it is limiting it to 6 new renewal, resubmission, or revision applications per calendar year through NIH. So if you have somebody who submits more often than that, definitely something to be aware of. Some updates on the RPPR. So there was guidance released by NIH on enforcement of closeout requirements during the appeals process, basically advising what you should and should not do if you're appealing a termination as you're working through closeout. NASA has released a new web form for RPPR submission that needs to be completed. Those will need to be completed through that web form. And then we also wanted to just remind you, you've probably seen several communications about this, that we are now entering annual deliverables in ERPM in order to help us ensure that we're meeting those deadlines, because as we've seen over the last couple of years, federal sponsors have shut down entire federal funding programs to universities who were non-compliant on their RPPRs and final reports. So we want to do everything we can to make sure we are meeting those deadlines, because we don't want one investigator missing that deadline to cause the entire institution's federal research to be shut down. A couple of other changes of things coming up in the near future. Starting November 1st, there is going to be some new language required in budget justifications at proposal stage. We are, I think, did the RAP go out today? It went out today, okay. So the RAP went out today with that language in it. So if you want to take a look at what that language is, it is published in today's issue. This will apply to all budget justifications regardless of sponsor. There are some specific instructions for sponsors that have unique budget justification formats. I believe it's, I want to say it's DOE maybe, that has a spreadsheet format for their budget justification, and there's some specific instructions on how to accomplish this requirement in that format. But this is essentially language assuring the federal government of how we manage compliance at the institution as it relates to a lot of the requirements that have been coming out over the course of the last 8 months or so. We are also making changes in the space of the subrecipient statement of collaborative intent or letter of commitment. We are now requiring the use of our template for any outgoing subawards at proposal stage. This is because there are a number of federal requirements that have been going into place over the last several years that need to be documented for our subawardees. And we can't rely on other institutions' templates to include those assurances, so we need to use ours for outgoing subawards. So that will be required starting November 1st as well. And our pre-award team will be sending those back for required changes on both of those items after November 1st if they aren't following these guidelines. A little bit on the home front. So I wanted to talk a little bit about realignment. We've got a lovely QR code if you want to find out more about our realignment through our website. You can go ahead and take a scan of that. But we have gotten through the point of actually getting the teams in place. So I think when we talked last year in person, we were talking about the plan to launch all of the teams by the end of January. That has been done successfully. So we now have all 4 teams in place within the sponsored project structure. The goal of the realignment was to create more efficiency and effectiveness in how we operated. So pre-realignment, as many of you who have been here a while know, we had staff handling things cradle to grave. So from time of proposal submission all the way until an award was closed out, you might have the same project representative handling that project. The problem with that structure was that folks were expected to be experts in every single stage of that award for every single sponsor that this campus deals with. And it made it a very lengthy process for folks to get onboarded and trained into that job. And it made it so that folks never really could become experts in any one thing because they had to know everything about everything. So the goal was to really focus in on the different functional areas, allow folks to have the ability to prioritize the work on their desk against similar work, in order to make sure that we were handling things effectively and quickly within ORSP. So kind of what I just said, but a little bit different representation of that. Better transparency, hopefully fewer or more effective handoffs within ORSP, having more timely responses, improving turnaround times, and reducing unqualified delays. So we all know sometimes there are delays that can't be avoided, but we don't want to be the cause of them in ORSP. And what were our goals? To basically have defined accountability supported by performance measures and metrics, a clear growth path for staff in our office, because if you want folks to develop that deep expertise, you certainly need to retain them and have the ability for them to grow their careers within ORSP. Ensuring that we had equitable pay so that we could be competitive for qualified staff. Having a scalable organization that could grow with the research portfolio, having a satisfactory level of service, and having more generalized knowledge focused on portfolios with better opportunities for coverage when folks were out of the office. So, I mean, we've kind of talked through all of these, but basically we wanted our operations to function more effectively and efficiently. So now we have in place 4 functional teams, and I'm going to kind of walk you through what those do, because I know it is still a little bit mystifying who to go to for what within ORSP now that we have restructured. Our pre-award team reviews proposals and handles any actions prior to award. So just-in-time requests for clarification from the sponsor, additional information needed prior to award. All of those things are handled on our pre-award team. And they are also the authorized organizational official for submissions to sponsors, to external sponsors for proposals. Year to date, so I wanted to give you a sense of the volume of work going on within ORSP. Year to date for FY26, so that would be July 1st to the date I pulled this, which was the 22nd, we have processed 1,409 proposals in ORSP. So that is ORSP specific, not including med school submitted proposals. And we have also handled 466 just-in-time requests. So small team of folks doing a huge volume of work within pre-award. On our contracts team, we have split it out into 3 functional areas, and this allows, again, more specific expertise on the types of agreements that they are handling so that they can be more efficient and effective in negotiating those. We have an unfunded agreements team. They handle all of the agreements that have no funding associated with them, as you might guess from the name. So non-disclosure agreements, data use agreements, MOUs, and other types of agreements that do not have funding. We also have a clinical trials team, and they work exclusively on clinical trial agreements and associated letters of indemnification. And we have a sponsored projects contracts team, and they handle research agreements, testing or service agreements, federal contracts, and other agreements that have funding associated with them. Each of these teams handle any master agreements of the type of agreement they handle. So if it's a master CDA, confidentiality agreement, it would be the UFA team that's handling it. If it's a master research agreement, it would be the sponsored contracts team handling it. So to give you an idea of the volume on that team, this is a snapshot taken on the 22nd of the volume of work being handled actively by that team that day. So this is the number of agreements in negotiation on the contracts team right now in ORSP. And as you can see, it's probably getting close to about 1,000 agreements being handled right now today, or 2 days ago. On the award management team, those folks are basically, they pick up the ball and run with it the minute we have an award in hand. So once that contract's executed or that award has been issued, they're setting up that award and they're handling it all the way until it closes. So their responsibilities include award setup. They might be handling execution of awards if they are what we call non-negotiable awards. So awards where we have standardized terms with that sponsor where we no longer negotiate it. They may handle routing and execution. They handle prior approval requests, progress reports, closeout reports, and they represent the institution in dealing with sponsors. So as you can imagine, that team has been incredibly busy over the last 8 or 9 months dealing with all of the back and forth with the federal government for terminations and reinstatements and appeals and changes in what they require. So they've been very busy. And year to date on that team, so July 1st forward, we have handled 2,229 modifications, 2,243 ACRs, and 675 new awards. Huge volume of work. And then the fourth team within our restructure is the Sponsored Projects Coordination team. So all of those volumes I just talked about, they touched all of it. Their job is essentially traffic cop and data management. So they are everything that comes into our office, they have to look at and figure out which team needs to handle it and which person on that team needs to handle it and get it handed off through the system. They also are responsible for the data integrity in our system. So they're doing a lot of the data entry into ERPM. They're initiating the award setup process to ensure all of the data is recorded correctly and accurately in our system. They're doing administrative checks on proposals that come in before they reach the pre-award team to ensure the data has been entered correctly. And they're responsible for new sponsor code setups. So those 20,000 external sponsors that we have in PeopleSoft, these are the folks that are setting those up every time we add a new one to that list, which is pretty frequently. So some questions about who to contact for what. Now that you have seen what each team does, a little bit about how to find out who the right person is to talk to in our office if you have a question or need assistance. The award management officers and the contract officers are all assigned workloads based on unit. So if you go out to our website, the link is right here for you. You can actually look up who is assigned to your unit for a specific function. The website has dropped down so you can actually dig in and look for the person on the UFA team that you work with or the person on the sponsored contracts team or award management and find out exactly who you should be contacting. Our pre-award team is a little bit different. Our pre-award team actually handles things in a rotational manner. And this is so that when we have heavy deadlines with a specific unit or a specific sponsor, it's not bogging down on 1 or 2 desks within our office. That work is being spread evenly because often, as you know, proposals are coming in at the last minute. And so we need to effectively utilize that entire team as proposals come in. So you will not know who's going to handle your proposal before it gets to our office, but once it gets to our office, it gets triaged and assigned to someone for handling. But we do have contact information out on our website if you need to contact somebody prior to getting that proposal to our office. We have a general email box for our pre-award team that you can reach out to if you need to ask a question before it reaches us. So for more information and FAQs, you can go to our lovely QR code, and that'll be in the slides if you want to look at that later. And just a couple other updates for you, system updates. So we have heard a lot of feedback about Ironclad, both that people love the transparency, but also that they really need more access to it. And so we have been working closely with ITS and with our vendor to try and figure out ways to handle that differently. We have a couple of factors that play into how we can issue access to Ironclad. The first is this is not a centrally managed system. This is something that is being managed by a single person on our team in ORSP. So managing individual access for all 6,000 or 8,000 users in ERPM is not possible for us in ORSP because it's not an ITS managed system. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing is because this isn't a central system, it was, it's being funded out of our budget, and we have a limited amount of funds available to purchase licenses for this. So we are limited on the number of seats of folks who can be in this system at any given time. So we really have to prioritize who is able to access the system at a given time. We are doing a couple of things. One is we've worked with ITS to automatically provision accounts when an agreement is in active negotiation. So there is an integration to ERPM with Ironclad where when an agreement is launched from ERPM, the assigned primary research administrator is given access to that record at that time, as is the investigator. We also have recently set up access for all of the unit approvers across campus. So unit approvers have access into the system. What they don't have is access to the specific workflows. And in order to give them access to the workflow, they need to be @mentioned on the workflow. So any of you have worked in Google Docs, you're familiar with the concept of @mentioning someone. The folks who are given automatic access to the record can go in and @mention anyone who's a unit approver to give them access to see it. We're working with ITS to see if we can expand out a sort of super access to the system. We have been able to give a small group of folks in the dean's level offices that access, but we will not be able to give broader campus access to that because of the limited number of licenses. So those are kind of our tips for if you're an approver and you need to see something, the assigned primary research administrator can @mention you to get you access to that. ERPM updates. So Carolyn will talk about this a little bit more, but you may have seen the communication about they may not have yet because it may not have gone out yet. There are going to be changes to the investigator attestation on the 29th of September. There's essentially a reminder being added to the investigator attestation about the university policy for disclosing intellectual property to the institution. So just be aware that there is a new bullet point in that attestation that's been added, and that will be sent out in a rapid communication when it goes live in the system. Oops. And then we have also added a new turndown reason to the proposal turndown process, and that is in order to track proposals that are being rejected due to a change in agency priorities. So historically, we've only been able to track if it was a merit turndown or an administrative error turndown. We will now be able to track whether that proposal was turned down because there was a determination it didn't meet the agency priorities. And we have had at least one proposal turned down for that reason, where it went up to the political appointee and was determined not to meet the priorities of the agency, and so was not funded. And that was a proposal that was submitted prior to the administration change, so it had been with the agency for quite some time for review before that rejection came through. We wanted to make you aware that there are going to be some focus groups held for changes to our website. We are going through a website modernization process where we're actually moving website platforms. And so we'd like to get your input. If you are interested in participating in that, you can email our communication manager, Jess Harper. Her email is right there on the slide. Are there questions? That was a ton of information. David.
Hi, Andrea. I'm just curious, are hardships considered pre-award or award?
That's a great question. David asked if hardships are considered pre-award or award. They are on award management. So, because that is essentially an award getting set up. Other questions? Yes. Oh, I'm going to make Sam answer this question.
The pre-award triage, is there a time period within how many hours or days they're supposed to respond to your email? Because there are times when I have emailed an urgent question and I have not received a response for a week and the proposal has already been submitted.
Yeah, Sam, do you want to take that?
So the ORSP pre-award box, we try to respond to urgent things within 2 to 4 business days. I usually see them pretty quickly if you put urgent in your subject line. If you're emailing us about at-risk, I'm probably not going to respond because we're already working on all the at-risk submissions. They're in our queues. We see them quickly. So please don't reach out about at-risk. They're not guaranteed to be submitted, but we are trying. They're in everyone's queue. So 2 to 4 business days, feel free to follow back up. If you need us, you can keep pinging us, but we have our pre-award lead team. Myself, our 2 managers, and our lead are all monitoring that inbox.
Oh, I see a hand over here.
Andrea, I might have drifted off when you were talking about the budget justification language. Where can I get that language?
In today's wrap.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It'll be out this afternoon. Okay, I'll watch for it.
How are we on time, Chris? We good? All right. I'm going to hand it back over unless there's other questions. You get until Chris reaches me to jump up with your hand up. Okay.
And at this point, we are actually going to pass it off to Carolyn Pappas, who's joining virtually. So, Carolyn, go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, this should be the slideshow. Chris, can you confirm you can hear me at least? Or? All right, I saw applause, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I am remote and wanted to kind of do the same thing I did back in the last RAND meeting, which is to give you the first part, which is the eResearch proposal management updates. So this is on the current system. And then the second half of my presentation will talk a little bit about the eResearch replacement planning project. So Andrea's gone over a lot of this. We did have a release on the 22nd. We shared release notes. I'm going to go over a few items in that release because we've had lots of questions on them, and they're also affecting your proposal submissions. Also, as Andrea mentioned, we have a release coming up on the 29th. We needed to update the investigator sign activity. So I'll show you what that new bullet looks like. And then lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about the ERPM framework upgrade, which is what we're doing next. So we had a lot of things in our September 22nd release. They all went in the system on the 22nd. I'm going to talk about the research security course in a second. Our release on the 29th. And then after the 29th, we're going to go kind of silent for a few months. We have to do an upgrade to our underlying technology. So we get this from the vendor, then we have to go through and test everything. And We are expecting to release this sometime in November. So if you work in the COI system or in the regulatory management system that's going live this weekend, or in ERAM, they're all have gone ahead of us, and it's taken about 2 months. So the research security course, I realize some of this is repetitive to what Andrea already said, and what was in our release notes, but I just want to stress that what you see in the system isn't technically in effect yet. It was done deliberately on the 22nd, so you have a week, 7 days, 7 business days, and to kind of prepare. So 2 pieces to this peers requirement. There's the prior to submission, the investigators listed on the path must have completed the course, or the peers course. And then on award, it gets rolled in with the other peers courses on awards or mods. And so it's part of the bigger compliance fold if someone hasn't completed it. So we try to make this fairly clear that when you're on a path and you create the path and you start adding investigators, if you go to the front page of the path, you will start to see not all investigators have completed the research security course, and then it directs you where to go and look. The path is only picking up the research security course. So this is an example on the contacts tab. When I go here to look, you'll see if you want to see all the peers courses, but the only one that we are calculating to include for is this path good for submission is the peers course. And similar to other things, the way we show it in other places, you'll see the yellow highlight indicating that someone's expiration date has already passed and they need to take the course. The other release that we are doing this Monday is we've been asked to update the sign activity on path, unfunded agreements, award change request, not sub-K, to add this new attestation bullet related to innovation partnerships and disclosures. So that is new for investigators, and we will include it in our communication on Monday. That ends my current research. I want to talk about next is the future. So this is a journey that many of you, if you are interested, are welcome to come along with us on. I'm going to go over the research, the project updates, the timeline, and then we'll kind of give you a sense of where we are in this. So reminder, what we are using today in ERPM, ERAM, ERRM, MInform, we're not going to be using in 2031. We have to replace this based on a vendor change passed down to us. So we've been doing a lot of planning. This is our new roadmap that kind of, as we start to approach 2026 and into 2027, these items will be broken out into more detailed tasks. But essentially, we're finishing up as of fall of 2025, what we call the planning phase. So the plan in early 2026 is to issue the RFP for a new research administration system. That will include doing lots of vendor demos, negotiation with negotiation with the demos, proof of concepts. We expect it to be a year-long project. I'm not going to go into these. You can take a look at these when we share out the slides. This kind of gives you a rough idea. We're planning to do the implementation, if all goes well, in 2026, between 2027 and 2030, because we have to be off of e-research by 2031 in October. So far we've done system requirements. We've done a number of business cases. We have started the exploring the marketplace to see what software is out there. We've talked to a lot of our peers institutions to find out what are you using? Are you happy with it? What are some of the downsides? We also did a more formal request for information, doesn't include pricing. Vendors have a chance to kind of give, showcase their product to give us an idea of what's out there. And then, as many of you participated in, we did a survey to get an understanding of what are research administrators, what are faculty looking for. So right now, we're kind of continuing some of those themes. So we're working with our eResearch leadership on some campus survey themes and trying to come up with a plan to involve research faculty, research administrators, lab personnel, clinical research personnel, et cetera, everyone who works in the eResearch system on ways to get involved in the eResearch replacement. Part of this update also includes building a business case, which includes the resourcing and cost estimates. And then, of course, we're also working on some of the staffing for the RFP in 2026. We have a much more detailed survey findings, which I can include when we send these out. Just in kind of at a very high level, what we heard from people, to really think about the user interface, having a new software that is more modern, one that will address some of the pain points that people have today, navigation, notifications. Some people feel there are too many notifications. Some people would like more notifications on certain things. Lots of integration, of course, keep it, maybe explore to more. If there's a way to have any more smart functionality, whether that includes AI or not, or maybe other tools, make sure that we invest in change management, include diverse impacted groups, and then maintain and migrate data integrity. So I also want to thank everyone who did fill out the survey. I realize I think it came at kind of a busy time, and we really appreciate it though, because we are incorporating this into what we plan on doing ahead as we move forward. So lastly, we do have a website, and there's an email group. If you have questions, if you are interested in knowing more about aspects of this, please feel free to email us. That ends my presentation. If there are questions, I'm happy to take them. If not, I will pass it on to Jill Vivian.
Thanks, Carolyn. If you could stop sharing, I'll be able to put my screen up. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning and happy Research Administrators Day. I hope we're getting some feedback. Carolyn, we can still see your screen.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I did stop sharing. Yeah, I'm not showing that I'm sharing anymore. Jill, to help you out, I'm gonna leave the meeting because my screen is not, let me reshare it and start. Okay. Okay, there, I got it to go.
All right, thank you. Here we go. I apologize that I could not be there in person. I hope you all are having a great meeting. I'm here to talk to you about limited submissions, and with the Medical School Office of Research, OVPR is getting ready to publish policy and procedures in the Standard Practice Guide. And I thought that was a great opportunity to talk to you all, remind you all, renew awareness that limited submissions are a thing, and they can often be this quirky and complicated. They play a complicated role sometimes in the research funding landscape. So this is particularly important for those of you on the pre-award side. I want to remind you that it would be really, really, really helpful if one of the first things that you do when a faculty member brings you a funding opportunity, particularly one that is not from our usual sponsors, but even the big ones, NIH, NSF, DOD, or DOW now, you should be checking in the eligibility sections to see if these are limited by any number, institutional numbers. For those of you where this term might be new, limited submissions, this is a funding opportunity where a sponsor has limited the number of applications that they want to receive from the university. So it's usually 1 or 2, but it could be 6 or 10 or whatever the sponsor decides how they want to limit the number of applications that they're getting. So as I said, it's often in the eligibility section, so please check that and help us make sure that these processes are smooth. But, you know, one of the reasons that we have to do this air traffic control, play this role around limited submissions is that some of these are very prestigious awards, and we want to make sure that we are identifying our most competitive candidate for when they go to the national competition, right? We want to get these because it's great for our investigators and it's also great for the university. Some of these you may be aware of, Pew and Searle, that are in the biomedical space, the Packard Foundation fellowships that are in the science and engineering space, but some of them are, you know, agency-led or sponsored opportunities. One of them is the NEH AI and Humanities Research Centers. So it's really across the span of disciplines as well. So it's not just folks in the STEM or the biomedical space. You're going to see this in the humanities and in the creative arts as well. So it's necessary to have efficient and effective processes for us to identify who our institutional nominees are going to be. Because we want them to be competitive, we really want to land these things. We want to provide a clear and transparent process. And we have to follow funder instructions because sometimes the funders will say, if we receive more than one application, more than the allowed limit, then you're just going to be declined altogether. We're just going to kick out all the University of Michigan applications. Sometimes they say, we're only going to review the first one we receive. Sometimes they say we're only going to review the last one that we receive. And so we've had a couple of hiccups over the last year or so, particularly around state of Michigan opportunities that are really have this really unclear language around whether these are limited opportunities or not. So please always check, and if anything is vague, reach out to us and we can clear it up early on in the process. ORSP is reviewing for this. It should be reviewed at all of the stages to make sure that this isn't, in fact, they are or aren't limited submissions, and to make sure that the appropriate approvals are attached. So there are around 250 or more of these limited submissions that are announced every year. And again, they do have to have OVPR approval attached to the PAF in order to actually be submitted to sponsor. So the way that our process works is that when there is time and we're uncertain about what level of enthusiasm there is or interest in an opportunity is, we will run a call for intent to submit. And this is the stage where a faculty member who wants to apply to this will just raise their hand and say, yes, I was thinking of applying to this. And if we have more than the number that is allowed, we then move that to peer review. We run an internal competition. We try to do it as fast as possible. And in OVPR, we will recruit reviewers in an ad hoc fashion, subject matter experts that can help us review and select nominees. Several of these are run from the Medical School Office of Research, and they have a standing committee of subject matter experts that helps select institutional nominees. Those are really the only two offices at the university where limited submissions are run, but you can find all of the opportunities in one place because we have a site that aggregates those. We're always striving to be fast about this process because we want to give faculty as much time as possible to develop a competitive application in the time from selecting the nominee to the sponsor deadline. And sometimes that's a very, very short turnaround. We run around 50 competitions a year. It's hard. Timelines are tricky because we don't always know that an opportunity, if we know that it's coming, sometimes we don't know if it's going to be limited. Sometimes, you know, the federal landscape, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And so some of these opportunities that we have relied on consistently where we've been able to run limited submission competitions in advance of the announcement, some of those programs are going away and may not come back. And I'm thinking of things from NSF, NSF AI Institutes and ERCs, the big engineering research centers. We don't know if those are coming again. And so there's a little bit of unpredictability, and that impacts this process. So what do we do in this, our contribution to the SPG? It is a very detailed, I'm not going to bore you with all the exhilarating details of the limited submission process, but what it does is it's a very detailed outline of all of our processes. It formalizes OVPR's institutional oversight of limited submissions so that you need the appropriate approvals to submit. It gives OVPR the right to delegate responsibility in case there are units where it makes more sense to run some of these competitions, if they are squarely in that unit's area of expertise. And we do that with the Medical School Office of Research. They run, I think, around 20 or so competitions out of their office. And it establishes consistency and fairness and equity and transparency as the standard for these processes. So just a heads up, where we're seeing the trend for limited submissions, one of the reasons I think it's so important to refresh your familiarity with these is because given the federal agencies' staffing capacities, they have seen, they've had a tremendous impact on the number of staff that they have in the agencies. We expect that they may use this limited submission mechanism to reduce the administrative burden on them. So one of the reasons they do this is to limit the number of applications they receive. And so this is a good way for them to do it. And we may see them do it even more often. And to give you a couple of examples in recent years, and this doesn't have to do with staffing capacity, or maybe it did, but the Department of Energy released big $20 million opportunities with 6 weeks from the announcement to the sponsor deadline. And they know that there are only a few big institutions that have the resources to throw at those opportunities or at their teams to get those done in a 6-week timeline, a $20 million proposal. And then just last week or the week before, NIH released 2 big center opportunities that are due in 5 weeks from announcement to sponsor deadline, and they're limited, right? So that leaves us a very, very small window to identify our faculty to put forward and, make sure they're the right ones and get a really high quality proposal out the door. So, yeah, as I said, we don't have a lot of prediction right now. The crystal ball is a little cloudy when it comes to understanding which funding opportunities are coming from the feds, which means we cannot run these processes in advance. And we're going to try and stay nimble and try and make sure that, we're as helpful as possible to our faculty as they, to keep them competitive for these. So, that is all I want to say about limited submissions. If you have any questions about it, you can reach out to me or my office. And researchcommons.umich.edu is the site that we run that has all limited submissions opportunities there, no matter which office is running them. They all appear on this site, as well as all internal funding opportunities around the university. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate you squeezing me in today, and I hope you have a great day. I think Christy, I'm handing off to Christy.
All right. So before we wrap up and start some of our activities, which virtual folks, there are activities for you as well, so please don't go anywhere. I wanted to send out, if I may, a message of hope to everyone. This year has been challenging. There is no sugarcoating it. And I say challenging because all the words that I would like to use to describe this year are not suitable for work. So challenging it is. What research in higher education is dealing with right now is unlike anything we've ever faced before. But we are not unfamiliar with challenges and change. Most everyone I've worked with in research here is here because we care. We work hard and we're adaptable. Research impacts all of us, our families, our friends, our neighbors. faculty and researchers save lives. They solve problems. They help local and international communities. They advance science, healthcare, and technology. They raise quality of life, and they create opportunities where none existed before. Even in the toughest of times, we find ourselves here in the middle of many changes and unknowns. We still move forward. And it takes a team of us across units, departments, and central offices to help research move forward. Successful research is a combined effort of many people. The work we do is complex, and the complexity we face evolves every day. So today, I encourage all of us to do as our RAN theme suggests: connect, engage, and inspire. Let's lift one another up, because we deserve it, because the work we do is challenging, and we're up for the task. So happy Research Administrators Day, everyone, and thank you. All right, now for those activities, everybody. For virtual attendees, we have 3 different breakout rooms that you can join if you wish. We have one to play RA Bingo. That one, you can earn a prize when you play that bingo game. One is to chat with others with some fun conversation cards, so you can have some interesting conversations you probably didn't think you'd be entering into today. And another is a networking room, so if you want to vent or you have an issue that you don't know how to deal with and maybe someone can help, you can go into the networking room. For folks here in person, please enjoy the food, which I've been told is running low. So get that food, folks. It's gone? Okay. Oh, okay. Cookies are gone. Hopefully everybody got one. But explore the room, because we've got fun things set up. There's a photo booth back there. That is so much fun. You can text or email yourself, get a group shot of people and share it. And then we've got a giant Connect 4 over here. There's some coloring sheets at tables. You can just sit and relax. We've got a gratitude banner that you can sign and put some notes of gratitude. And Chris is going to sort of take a photo of that, right? Yep, and share it. We've also, on your tables, you'll notice conversation cards, and then there are, agenda with QR codes that also has a list of restaurants, right? Yes, and a link to the kudos that everyone shared prior to our meeting today. So please check out that kudos. You might see some of your colleagues in there, yourself in there. The restaurants, there's one restaurant actually in particular, thank you, Becky, that's running a deal for today's attendees. And we encourage you all to, after the RAN today, go grab a colleague or anyone here and go check out one of the restaurants and enjoy some lunch at one of these local spots. And then there are also prizes for the bingo, which is over at that table over there, right? And a word search, and you can fill it out, put your name, leave it there, and then we will raffle those prizes at the end here. So that completes our RAN, everyone. Have a great time and enjoy. Thank you.